Welcome to my channel. This is on Outlander. I read it a few years ago. There has since been a Starz TV series come out on the first 2 years of it, and they wanted to talk a little bit about it. It first was published in the early 90s, and it was on the New York Times best-selling list for quite some time. I didn't read it until I think it was 2010 or 2011. I had gotten a Kindle around '09, and it appeared as a free download. So that's how I came in touch with Outlander. I think I had somewhat of a hard time getting started with the book, but I got hooked once she fell through the stones and hung in there until after the marriage when Jamie and her had their romantic sexual first encounter. And that's the hook. That's where everybody gets hooked, going through the stones and Jamie. The books I found, I think they could have been edited by half. I didn't read most of them. I just kind of turned the pages and was looking for the interesting stuff. To me, it is romance disguised as historical because I read a lot and I have read a lot of historical fiction. And what makes you read historical fiction? The subject matter, the storyline. It's not about sex that keeps you coming back to historical fiction. With Outlander, it was about Jamie and Claire's sex life. Also, it did span about 50 plus years. And when you went through the books, the stones seemed more like a portal with people going back and forth, especially towards the last couple of books, I guess. Outlander was actually a book about Claire, but it was Jamie that hooked the female audience. The TV series is richly done. They did edit it, so actually it's better than the book because it comes to life with costumes and the background and all the characters and the castle and the things like that. But I have to say that although they only have 2 years of the series, 2 books of the series on there, I barely got through the last 2 episodes. The same thing happened to me as it did with the book. I got bored. It just, I don't know, it kind of gets a little bit ridiculous and it just doesn't hold my interest all that much. On the author, Diana Gabaldon, she's a product of the Southwest. I was born the same year she was, and I strongly suspect that she came into touch with the same book I did in the very early 60s when I was young. And it was called A Wrinkle in Time, written by L'Engle is the last name, L'Engle. It would, some years later, become a movie, but it was very different for its time period, and it did win the Caldecott Award, which is a child writing award type book. And A Wrinkle in Time, they're traveling time. It wouldn't surprise me at all that maybe the subject of Outlander, going back in time, came from earlier reads. Ideas always build on ideas. It's not wrong. It's just a little bit of history there. Also, to me, the story was actually, the series is quite dramatic. Gabaldon shares that on her father's side, she has Mexican heritage and her mother is of English descent. And that is true of the Southwest. The Spanish came through here, and almost all Hispanics that have any history at all in Arizona and New Mexico will have an English name floating around somewhere. But to me, it came across as a very Hispanic story. You know, the clans, the Irish, that's all family. The Romans were there a long, long time ago. So it's just some food for thought about the series. Now, Claire, she got on my nerves eventually in the books. To me, she was somewhat of a loosey-goosey. And it was all in historical parts of the book, even though they went through some battles and things, it was always about her triage, triage, triage. And later on in the book, I'm a doctor, which was what was happening in the 80s and early 90s when the book was published. That's what was going on with women. They were kind of caught up in this newly found world of education and having jobs that traditionally women wouldn't have. Also, Jamie, I didn't really tune into Jamie until the sex scene after the marriage in the book, probably when everybody did. And the it made the actor Sam Heughan, they actually, the series made this actor Sam Heughan over to look the part of Jamie. If you Google some pictures, he really doesn't look like that at all. And going back to Claire, this is what has changed in my lifetime. What you see is what you get with Claire. If you saw her without her makeup, she would look basically the same. But Jamie, Sam Heughan, he would not. He would not look exactly the same. So to me, that kind of makes him a little bit expendable. They kind of made him to look into the part. So I guess if they get any trouble at all from the actor, they could easily replace him and just, make him over. Back to the book here. Let me thumb down on my. When I was reading the book, I would look ahead to the next books in the series on Amazon, and there were quite a few review remarks about what was happening in the book between Jamie, Randall, and Claire, and quite a few of the reviews didn't care for it. And in between the Outlander books, the author was writing a few books on a homosexual character, and it came across in the Outlander series too. I know that just very recently, Diana Gabaldon came out and said, "Oh no, Randall was not homosexual; he was a sodomizer." But it came out too many years too late to clarify that point because a lot of the readers did pick up on that. They have a much younger audience now, really, who's out to see the Stars series. And let's face it, the audience is probably heavily Hispanic too. Now, let's see. When you watch the actor Sam Heughan in some of the YouTube videos where they're doing promotions, he doesn't connect with the female audience. And it seems to me they are heavily promoting the series probably to keep the interest going in it. Time will tell on how well it does and what happens to it. I think Claire's a very good actress. She's over the top in the drama scenes, and she's just very, very good. And also, both actors are quite tall, which sets them apart from the rest of the cast. And I think that was a real smart move. I'm sure the actor was decided on by the franchise, possibly the writer, but I don't think it was any coincidence that they hired someone who didn't quite connect with their female audience. If the series falters, if they continue, they could replace the actor quite easily. We'll have to wait and see what happens in the end. But I would have to say that quite a number of years have passed since the Outlander book was written. People have changed. The original audience has gotten quite a bit older. There's a lot more trash, female trash written today, and you can find it on Amazon. I've read some of it. Most of it is just that it is trash, but I've come across a couple of books that are excellent writing trash. So this female genre in romance has really grown a lot considerably in the last year or so.